And RMC, I'm going to start by just posing the initial question to you. You talked a little bit about Mel Scout here. Mel Scout has been the consistent piece in this roster for a while. Do you think that that's going to transition to in-game consistency? Because AOE God Squad as a whole have been anything but.
Yeah, I actually believe that Mel Scout didn't play that one game they had in week one. The only returning player from that week one roster was Haxax, actually, the AD carry, who put up some incredible numbers in that solo game and has continued to do so here. But I am looking at Mel Scout more because he's the captain. And when you're sort of still in tryout mode, when your team's not really settled, when you're getting a bit of a revolving door of players here, then you've got to have somebody who hold the reins tight, who's telling people what to do, where to go. And if you're the captain, that has to be you. So Mel Scout for the macro decisions, for the engaged decisions here.
I'm curious to see whether that does end up going in such a way where the game does become very Mel Scout oriented, or whether he can direct the plays more so. Because I remember I had a conversation with him just a few days ago where he was talking about how bot lane coordination is something that he's really looking for on the roster, the ability to be vocal from that sort of southern end of the map, as well as carry potential from the mid lane. And, you know, if they can roll the dice right, if we've got the right roster in today from AOE, maybe we see that sort of look, but it's going to be is the captain, coach, going to end up taking the reins, or is everybody else? Because it's a roster that's built on talent.
Yeah, and that's always the problem too when the roster is not finalized, right? It's really hard to talk about them. But you know, we talk about Paxax as the main carry because Paxax has some amazing numbers. #1 CS per minute right now in the entire league, 9.3, fifth highest in terms of damage per minute, and the highest gold difference here. So technically the best performing AD carry in the league. But I want to look at Runeweaver as well, because in a couple of those clips we had that both of us were pulling out in our nature documentaries, we see Mel Scout being a juggernaut. What we don't see is the setup where Runeweaver is setting up the bait and or using Mel Scout as bait to clean up after those fights here. And I think Runeweaver is a bit of a snake in the grass in that you don't realize Runeweaver is there till it's too late, and Runeweaver has killed everybody as Cassiopeia. So that's somebody else I'd keep my eyes on, especially with a rotating roster, because a player like that who can make these sort of cold calculated plays will be able to perform well independently of the rest of the team.
Yeah, he's a very sort of silent force, as you say. I think you put it best there in the team fights and in the game as a whole. I also don't see him standing out as particularly dominant in the lane phase. It's really the team fights where I feel like he's able to excel, and having that X factor when it does come to the 5v5s that games so often result in can be the extra thing that you need to push you over the edge, especially going up against a roster that has played together for a long time and is very experienced in their own right. I know that we didn't cover WyoBoomers for the clips there, but we've done our research, and I want to know how you feel about WyoBoomers and their playstyle matching up into the expected way that AOE are going.
Right now, how I feel is how DJ feels, because DJ spent 1 week out in the wild. When he came back, he was starved of human contact, and he's been nattering on about WyoBoomers in my ear here. And he is high right now on Trinity and Palm Goat here as the main carries for WyoBoomer. And when I look at who's been carrying the bulk of the fights, you can't argue with that. What, to me, is absolutely stunning about WyoBoomers as well is the fact that Palm Goat is not their primary carry. Considering that the amount of damage Palm Goat puts out, the way Palm Goat tends to be the last one standing in a lot of fights, it's actually Trinity, who they often send resources to. Birdman in the bot lane gets sent to roam up. Wicklehouse focuses that mid lane a lot. Papa Francesco, first place you look on a roam, always the mid lane. So they throw a lot of resources into that mid lane for Trinity here. And I feel like Trinity needs to step up to be that impetus to take use of all that resources and make the plays happen. If not, if it's all Palm Goat, then I think they need to start focusing that bot lane a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm curious whether Wyo can play through the bot lane, because like you say, it's so often the secondary win condition. But I know that when we were talking to the casters earlier today, I think it was DJ brought up the point that more recently, Palm Goat has been deviating away from these enabling AD carries and more towards straight up hyper carries that have become the meta more recently. And if you're going to start playing those, you're going to demand a lot of resources from your team. Very clearly he's getting them, but I want to know if those can come through in a play style, and less so in a, well, you just sit over there, take the resources that we're not getting because we're off playing the game.
Yeah, and Necrox has been very vocal about the fact that, Palm Goat looks great on the champions he plays, and it's often abandoned 1v2, and that is a win con for the side of WyoBoomers, that Palm Goat doesn't get shut down, still manages to find leads 1 versus 2, freeing up the rest of the map. But if you're able to instead play to the strength of Palm Goat and use that strength where, if you can survive a 1v2, imagine if you give him a 2v2 or even a 3v2. That suddenly becomes a lane you can definitely play through. If your AD carry gets fed on things like a Varus, like a Tristana, which is what we've seen a lot of from Palm Goat this split, then that I feel like is a very solid foundation to play through in team fights.
Let's see how these guys like to draft, though, as we are getting into that phase of the game. It's just sort of the precursor to everything that we're about to see on the Rift RMC. And already, Thresh is taken away by YO, and AOE, they're taking away that Jhin that Palm Goat does favor upon occasion. The Senna, an interesting ban, though.
Yeah, Senna, technically Birdman does play Senna, but I don't think Palm Goat's been really focusing that. So from AoE, it feels like they're just trying to take away a comfort pick. I don't know if they actually checked out what on earth they play, because a Jhin ban as well, that's not something that we see a lot of. The Fiddlesticks makes sense. I think it's one of the most banned champions. Actually been banned every single game this split against WyoBoomers here.
Yeah, and this is a sort of odd ban that you might not normally see, but specifically into the WyoBoomers, you do have to respect the ability for the Scary Scarecrow. At the same time, Mordekaiser being respected for AoE is definitely a tribute to Potato Head, who I believe is playing in the top lane today. I'm hoping for confirmation on that.
Yes, we do have confirmation. So it is Potato Head in the top lane, Melscout in the jungle, Runeweaver mid, Paxax is AD carry, and Dibble as their support. So the top and bot are different. You know what? The Mordekaiser could be targeted a little bit at Melscout as well. Melscout did play it, I believe it was game 2 last week here. So a flex pick, but Taliyah takeaway. That's respected.
Okay. Yeah, that's a Runeweaver special, one of his most played in solo queue. So I am really excited. We talk about consistent DPS, and we saw the Cassiopeia here. Taliyah can fall into that very same role, but it seems like on the other side, Wyo are going with that more tried and true thing. Yes, Palm Goat is likely to win lane on a Varus AD carry, but he still does fall into that utility sort of area of ADs.
And I think just Varus is such a strong pick right now. It's so versatile as an early pick as well, because Varus fits into anything. Oak, he can do that. If you want team fights, build a Rune on Hurricane, go lethal tempo. You can shred tanks. You can shred anybody who walks in there. And in lane is somewhat immobile, but with the range on that piercing arrow there, it's super, super safe to just sit back and fire arrows as long as you don't get frozen out of. Xin Zhao being picked up, that is Wicklehouse's most played, or one of the most played junglers in their solo queue matches, but I am not so confident in that pick, Tia. I have not liked Xin Zhao as a blind pick here, and even if you're going into the Taliyah, even if you think that's a Taliyah jungle, I still don't think Xin Zhao is the answer to this one here.
Yeah, and it's a very hit or miss pick. So much relies on you being able to get the Xin Zhao ahead. And for Wyo, it's definitely a risk into the individual talent that I see AoE bringing to the table. Remember, they're the experienced guys here. They've played for a lot of seasons in Excellency Heavy, and Wicklehouse right now is acting as their shot caller, so there's no better sort of opportunity to get a Xin Zhao off the ground than if he's leading the game. I saw your eyes, though, as the Udyr and Sivir were locked in, so I'll let you take over.
Okay, I mean, you pick a Taliyah, you pick a Sivir. That tells me that you want to go fast. This is not going to be a slow game. You've got two people who are going to be making tracks, three, actually, even Udyr, making tracks all over the map here. And I already love what I'm seeing, because this is how I think AoE has excelled in. They have the highest kills and assists of all teams right now, on average per game. Highest deaths as well, because they like to move fast, they like to kill things, and they like to be all over the map. And WyoBoomers, this is where I fear for WyoBoomers, because they like to farm, they like to play a more steady game. Can they keep up the pace of these young Zoomers?
Yeah, they're a little bit older, you know? This is something that we've always said about WyoBoomers, but they definitely like to play the game in a way that they're able to control. It's not that fast LPL style, it's the old geezer sort of LCK style that they bring to the table. And hey, they get an Alistair to try and stall out some of these mid-game team fights, take their time, get some nice initiates. But the thing that's standing out to me is that if AOE want to accelerate the pace of the game, at least one of the members of Wyo does as well, since they've picked the Xin Zhao, and they can't just sit back and let the game happen to them.
And now with that Xin Zhao pickup as well, I feel like they need to draft lanes that can respond well, specifically the mid lane, or you are definitely going to struggle against a Talia Udyr combo coming out at you here. The Alistair pick is a fairly neutral pick. We've seen Birdman on it. Birdman does great on this Alistair. But it's a very neutral pick. I still don't know what WyoBoomers are necessarily looking to do or what they're looking to get out of this drop. They're banning Morg, they're banning Bard, and this is not a Morg jungle ban. This is support ban. So, I mean, I don't know if that's really the right call necessarily here. Morg within this particular composition doesn't look that attractive.
No, but Bard I definitely understand, because Birdman doesn't like to be in lane. Really, it's one of the things that he's known for, is just sort of leaving Palm Goat alone, letting Palm Goat scale up on his own, yes, and then visiting everywhere else on the map and just doing anything to get that solo experience and gold over to Palm Goat. So I like the Alistair pickup for that, because it has been and always will be one of his strengths. When you couple it with a Diana from what I assume is going to be the jungle as well, you could get some pretty good skirmishes.
And a mid? Because Xin Zhao goes to a late? No, I think it's probably Diana.
Yeah, oh, Diana sorry. Mid. Yeah. I'm trolling. Yeah. That's what I meant.
That's what I was trying to think for a second too, because I have heard of, Xin Zhao AP top lane. That's a thing. I hope we don't see it here. I've seen it enough in solo queue back when it was all the rage. But okay, so WyoBoomers, that pick though does kind of solidify what they want to do. You've got a Xin Zhao, you've got a Diana. You want to go in. You want to find a backline. And Sivir is fairly short range as far as ADCs go, so is going to be fairly vulnerable, but that's going to leave your Varus on their own. And not only are they going to abandon Palm Goat in lane now, it looks like in team fights as well, Palm Goat is going to be on his own.
And it's a lot of pressure on an AD carry to be able to put out the relevant damage, but fortunately he's got some frontliners to help him out with that. A Braum pickup last, I do really like providing a lot of safety to the backline and making Palm Goat's job all that much harder.
Teemo Hub right now. Yeah, I mean, I love the Braum here just because it disrupts, but Sivir does need to survive the upfront burst coming through from Diana or Xin Zhao, or it doesn't even matter. Now, with that set as well, they're going to make it doubly hard to give safety to Sivir, because you've got 3 hard, heavy divers. And I almost feel like for AOE, they might just want to play the WyoBoomer style, where you leave your ADC alone on an island and just kind of go like, we'll dive the rest of the team. We've got Talia for backup. Sivir, Paxax, you're on your own. Just try and survive and buy time and distract all the divers here.
They've got the option to do it for sure, because the composition from AOE, as much as it isn't damage-centric, certainly doesn't lack it when compared to the draft of WyoBoomers. That, especially if that Diana is a little bit behind, is going to struggle to keep up with the consistent DPS from things like Lee Sin and Udyr and even Talia.
And for AOE, yes, the Diana falls behind, that's hard, but for all of AOE, the same is true here. You've got a Talia, you've got an Udyr, you've got a Lee Sin. Those are champions who want to get ahead. They want to make really early moves. If they do fall behind, the skilling from WyoBoomers, from the Diana, from the Varus, are going to be very, very difficult to deal with. Yes, Sivir skills up well if you go the crit build instead of the lethality build, but it's still hard to play into the sheer amount of dive we're seeing here. So AOE, I need to see them make aggressive early moves here. And the aggressive picks, they're coming in from Mel Scout, Rune Weaver, and from Potato Head. So top side, all of them here, they need to be making tracks real fast, real early, whereas WyoBoomers just need to be able to soak that up early and then play for the mid game.
You draft strong side top for AoE, it likely means that you're giving up some dragons as well, and WyoBoomers, who do like to play that more controlled style, should be able to pick them up if they see the opportunity given over, and it can provide a lot of really early pressure to them, especially if you can get to that second or third dragon, start threatening the soul as well. We already saw that Wyo do like to fight in the river, so I think that this draft kind of favors them.
A little bit. I'm still not completely sold out. Sold on this WyoBoomers draft right now.
I'm a play-by-play, so I just get to throw all the analysis out the window. This is what I think.
Yeah, because one thing I do like a lot about the WyoBoomers composition for these fights is that it's simple. You go in. But you do have to go in together. And that's where I'm a little hesitant right now. Because in all the clips that we saw in the pre-show, WyoBoomers don't usually go in together necessarily. They kind of trickle in, and they're playing kind of crafty here. But this is a young man's comp. You just rush in all together there, and you need to be coordinated. If you do go in one after another, that's going to give a lot of time for the AOE God Squad to respond to that. And if you allow them to pick and choose who's in and who's out, they've got tools for it. You know, the Weaver's Wall can block people off. Seismic Shove, you can let in one person, shove everybody else back. Lee Sin, Dragon's Rage, the out as well. There's just so many tools to gatekeep, if you will, who's going to get into those fights. But if they do set up, if they do have vision, and I think vision's going to be key, because if they can find a way to find a flank, they win those fights.
I was going to say that there's a lot of tools. You called it to, what was it? To exclude, to isolate. I'm forgetting what word you used, but
Gatekeep.
I was thinking to like reposition people is what was standing out to me. And that actually makes for a pretty solid pick composition as well. It's something that we don't see a whole lot from specifically these champions, but you got a Lee Sin, you got a Talia, you've got a lot of burst. Surely you can also afford to play from reduced vision on the side of WyoBoomers and just go for these cheeky hide and brush plays that we saw in the first clips of them.
Yeah, 100%. If we get an ocean map, yeah, it's going to be spicy for both of these teams, because death bushes would abound here for both of them. But you know what? I'm less concerned about what map we get so much as the early game, because I know we touched on it here. But just looking at the Talia, Udyr, Lee Sin, the reason why Lee Sin came into prevalence was because with the E-buffs, he can shove a wave in a lane and then go join the jungler and act as a secondary jungler. Talia can do the exact same thing in the mid lane, and that's technically now 3 junglers roaming around the map here. It doesn't matter if you can track Mel Scout. Runeweaver can find his way down to the bot lane, can find his way to the top lane. If you think that, hey, your jungle is safe because Udyr is in the bottom quadrant, be careful for Potato Head coming in. Can still also chase off this Xin Zhao, who, as good as a duelist as Xin Zhao is, it's still hard to fend off multiple waves of invaders into your jungle.
I was going to say, surely to some extent, though, it does favor the Xin Zhao playstyle that wants to fight a little bit earlier. And that, to me, is really up to Wickelhaus and how quickly Trinity and Papa Francesco can collapse. We've already covered the fact that they're not going to get first rotation, more than likely. But because you do have a really strong duelist, and because there's CD coming from especially Papa Francesco in that top lane, I think Potato Head could slip up just once, maybe twice, and you could see kills going WyoBoomer's way. It does come down to execution, though. It does come down to what we actually see in the game. And with everything locked in, with all of our analysis done, RMC, I see no better option than to send this over to DJ and Necrox to break down what's going to happen on the Rift. We'll see you guys in just a few minutes.
Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants?
Hello everyone and welcome to The Rift. I am Necrox, joined by DJ on the caster desk. You smell a little bit better than before, so no worries there. I'm glad you got your shower in. But AOE God Squad takes on WyoBoomers here in the Excellency Heavy League. And this matchup is one that we've been anticipating for a long time. Certainly lots to go through, but man, it's just good to be back with you.
Yeah, it is good to be back on the desk here, or on the cast, I suppose, and I'm excited to see the Boomers back. You know, it's been a while since we saw them, not since quarterfinals have we seen them back on this Rift. Of course, a new jungler in-house here in Wickelhouse. He's not going to be piloting that old bear, but another very early game jungler, which is a trend we've been seeing from him. A lot of Jarvan, a lot of Volibear, now a Xin Zhao, trying to impact the early game with, again, what I would expect is that ever-roaming Birdman, so very flexible, can fly across the map in his animal form, man. Any animal form he wishes to take. This time it is that cow, of course. So keeping on theme with our nature documentaries here and all of the scouting that I had to sacrifice for there, Necrox.
Yeah, and the joining duo with him and Palm Goat has opted for the tempo, a little bit more that DPS focused build, trying to burn through the frontliners of the Braum, of the Udyr, and even the Lee Sin, who can get deceptively tanky with all the shields and extra health. So good to see Palm Goat on the front lines here, really trying to get that damage and scrappiness in top side for sure, as that matchup should be pretty volatile, but junglers not anywhere near so far. Melscout going to be headed down bot side, looking to impact this bottom side of the map. Wickelhouse, though, heading the opposite direction. One more pull back in from Papa. Potato is low, will be alive for now. No issues as level 2 comes in the bot side, but Potato kind of getting beat up and slapped around here so far.
Yeah, Set can kind of do that to you in the early game, and Papa really showing it to him at the moment. You know, Papa has been known for a long time as a pressure absorber, and as I say that,
Melscout didn't ever go down to the bot side. He's headed straight top as here you go. Resonating Strike is in. Safeguard and first blood to the Lee Sin and the blind bunk. AOE God Squad started off right.
and that is just really creative pathing here from Melscout, maybe potentially anticipating Wickelhouse's pathing towards the top side on the level 2 ganker. This is an Udyr. Udyr nearly always full clears here. We're going to hold on for just a second, but I think Birdman should be fine just walking out. Just a Braum Sivir here. So a lot of damage. Potato, good God, the damage from Papa as he TPs back in is very heavy, but this is a Lee Sin. Can just heal up and sustain, but we're going to have a 2v2 here at level 3.
2v2 is going to break out as well in that bot side river. Wickelhouse forced to flash away. Will be just fine on the back end, but 5-minute cooldowns burned for both junglers now. No flashes available. Another trade on the top side. Man, these two teams, DJ, are going at it early and often.
Yeah, they certainly are. And again, I do want to praise Melscout for what I think is very creative pathing and a good idea here against the Xin Zhao. When that gank happened, you can see Udyr still is not full cleared his bottom side. There are 3 camps up there on the red buff side of the map, so he just completely passed the path, or passed those up to path back to top side as that wave pushed into Potato Head to pick up first blood, which also shut down the potential level 3 dive that, you know, as Xin Zhao is so fond of on that top side. So shuts down the enemy, gets himself first blood. Now he's trying to pick up Trinity.
What a play. There's the stun into the seismic shove. Watch out, Trinity. You've already gone down. And AOE, man, they find everything. They find top, they find mid, and now looking for top once again. Papa has to be careful, but the resonating strike was there, and Potato solo kills Papa in the top lane.
Yeah, and there's no teleport for Papa. This is really, really bad for him. And I got to be honest, Necrox, it's really bad in general for WyoBoomers because they drafted themselves into a Xin Zhao, a champion that needs to get early ganks, that needs to get lanes ahead. They're playing with an Alistar who's roamed out of the lane, and they have been second to every single play around the map to a power farming jungler in this Udyr. Melscout has completely turned the storylines and the tables for these two champions. He has been the one making early proactive plays. He has gotten his lanes ahead. And guess what? He still had a full bot side jungle to clear. So we've got a CS lead on top of that. This is an insane early game performance from Melscout, and he has set his team up so well for success.
And as you were saying, it all comes back to that creative pathing, DJ. Just clearing topside into the topside gank. It works so well. And Dia and RMC were talking about this on the desk. They wanted to see what guys take an advanced position here for a while. Get the shot calling in, be aggressive, make maneuvers early on. But so far, really just trying to react to what Melscout has been dishing down so far for the first time. He's going to look for the play in topside, jumping in once more, a little bit of damage with a nice haymaker. But Potato not in any threat at all. Still has the flash, and the gank topside comes up empty-handed.
Yeah, it can just be really hard to get on top of a Lee Sin, although he might have overstayed his welcome to flash kick.
Look at the insect under the turret. Papa's tanking it up. Melscout's got kill number 1, and Potato's got kill number 2. It's a 2-for-0 special, man. WyoBoomers on sale.
Bow down, all ye to the Potato Head, but now bottom lane, Runeweaver coming in. He's level 6. They are dead.
They are just gone underneath this turret. A trade back for Birdman. The Ignite helps him clear that one up. Runeweaver on the chase, so wants this kill. There's a couple more threaded volleys. One more. Nice headbutt pulverized, but how long can you survive? Not enough. Maybe a little bit of time, though, for Trinity to come and reinforce this play. One kill back to the side of WyoBoomers. AOE God Squad go a little bit too far. They lose their mid laner and an extended fight, but WyoBoomers certainly not going down without throwing a couple punches of their own.
Yeah, they're throwing it from under their turret, though, Necrox, and that means even though Palm Goat does, I believe, get that trade back. No, sorry, it was even Birdman picking up that kill. He loses a full wave underneath that turret, so it's still a positive play. Even though they lose out on kills, they're likely going to benefit on gold as they just force Palm Goat away. They're going to, keep resources off him, going to keep experience off him. It's not going to feel good for this AD carry, who has been the priority for EXP so far for WyoBoomers and will be a necessary carry for them with this attack speed build coming in on the lethal tempo, and Devil even blocking the arrow to take away the cannon. That's super toxic. That's I don't know about toxic, Necrox, to say he's doing his job there, but it's it pretty feels bad for Palm Goat. And again, everything here is fairly feels bad. Papa, you just don't win this. It's 3-on-1.
There's another ulti gonna come down. Potato already down to about 300 HP, ticking even lower. There's the ulti, it's available, and a kick to the throat will cut down Papa Francesco once again. How many deaths is that, DJ? Do you play any Jhin? That number is 4. That is way too much at this point in the game.
Jin's my main, so I'm very familiar with that number, and it's not the column you want to see it popping in on, particularly when your other two columns are 0 and 0, Necrox. It's not a great start to the game. I don't think they want this fight, but they're going in anyway.
They're going to look for the team fight in the bot side river, and nice corrupting chain from Palm Goat will lock up one, but Runeweaver keeping himself alive, getting a little bit away. Paxax has to flash at about single-digit HP now. One more Q. Palm Goat will snipe out Paxax to get at least something on the board for Wyo.
Yeah, and Palm got Herculean effort here, predicting the pathing, the max range arrow there over the wall. Lovely stuff from Palm Goat. We talked about him so much as a carry threat for this team. He's so mechanically gifted, and he does get something back for WyoBoomers despite losing the Drake. But still, it is a big mountain to climb here in the early game as they find themselves trailing by 2.5k gold at just 9 minutes with an 0-4 top laner who just basically doesn't get to play the game until his turret goes down. He just got to farm and stay safe because there's no chance you beat Potato Head's Lee Sin here, as he's already completed a gore drinker here, Necrox.
Already 401 on this Lee Sin. Potato Head looking to trade once again, but that snipe from Palm Goat was real nice to get at least some gold under the belt. We're going to take one more look at the skirmish in the bot side. Not exactly the skirmish that we want to see. believe that one comes from a different portion of League of Legends, so we won't pay too much attention. Avert your eyes. It's not actually the replay that we're looking for as we head straight back into live.
Yeah, guys, Miz doesn't play for EGP anymore. We don't need to watch that. It's not important.
No, don't worry about that one. We'll get that one fixed as soon as possible. For now, though, straight back to farming. And the lead that AOE God Squad has built for themselves here, I'm not sure that it ever really diminishes. They have nice scaling abilities in their comp. Birdman going in for a headbutt pull, but now has to walk himself away. Along with that trample is AOE, our 3-man in mid, and they're going to find the siege as they move on over to this top crab.
Yeah, moving over to top crab. They've got all the prio they could possibly want. Dibble, pretty tanky already here. You can see that shield mitigating a lot of the damage, and Wickelhaus did not want to go in, knock him up. It just wasn't worth the time or the damage. And with how far ahead they are on the top side, this 2-0-2 Udyr as well, it's just not a whole lot the WyoBoomers can do to fight back. This is more of a potential play.
Nice spell shield, but the rest of the team is here, and Paxax is just gone before the fight even begins. Potato had tried to arrive with the TP. Nice kick to buy a little bit more time. Look how it's already so low, but here comes the rest of the squad. Runeweaver's arrived. He's got one, and now they're 1v1 between Papa, but it's not a 1v1 for very longest. Runeweaver is going to make this one 2 for nothing for them so far. Flash away from Trinity, but that Q's going to follow. Make it 3 for this Talia. She's hitting you with rocks and rocking your clock. There's just no way out. Good night, WyoBoomers, as Runeweaver rips up your dirt and shoves it right back in your face.
Yeah, and Runeweaver cleans up all the kills that were granted to him by the great Potato Head here in the top lane. He TPs in as Paxax goes down. It's an initially good play, but they run out of minions, Necrox, as the TP arrives. You can see the idea from Potato Head right away. He walks behind the minion. He gets the kick onto the first WyoBoomers member. The minions disappear. The turret starts going in his favor, and he hits 3 other members of Wyo with the kick. That sets up Runeweaver to come on in to clean everyone's clock. It's 4 kills over to Runeweaver and God Squad, and they are so completely in control of this game.
What a maneuver from this Talia, and this is why Runeweaver is willing to be this champion. It's not the most meta, it's not the most powerful thing in League of Legends right now, but he knows how to play it, and he can't be stopped even with a small lead like he has now. That has gone from small to absolutely gargantuan size. This Potato absolutely wins this 1v1. Even if he didn't, his jungler's here to support him. Mel Scout, there's one more bear slap, and Potato will take another free kill. 506, 203, 611. Man, these numbers, I wish they were my teammates in solo queue because they are all fed.
Yeah, everyone's fed here. Runeweaver, yeah, has to flash away there from Trinity. I mean, even an unfed Diana can still probably win that 1v1 as long as you dodge the seismic shove. So respect flashes there. We'll spot out Birdman's attempt to sneak a kill here. But Dibble is around to just chase this one away. And it is really, it's feeling like my solo queue here, Necrox, and my teammates are WyoBoomers, unfortunately, because there's just not a whole lot of options right now for them, as Dibble gonna even follow up as this ward gets cleared away. I mean, look at how deep Mel Scout is in their jungle.
Wow, just dead. Wickelhaus didn't have much time to survive. Mel Scout somehow
still
living.
alive.
Double kill to this Lee Sin already, but the Q goes a little bit wide. That one went to Narnia, but where can the chase come through? There it is. A nice insect. There's no haymaker to survive, and Mel Scout is on a killing spree. And look at the bot lane as well. Trinity is anything but standing. He is just knocked over, and AOE God Squad run over Wyo one more time.
Potato Head just took 4 turret shots right in front of Birdman. I think literally just to flex on Birdman that he could. I'm pretty sure that's what that was right there, Necrox. And that is how strong Potato Head is on this Lee Sin. Now 7-0-7, could have been 8. He gifted a kill over to Mel Scout, I think for lifesteal or something. And while he 1v3s on the top side, it leaves Trinity completely exposed on the bottom side of the map to a 3-man collapse. He falls as well. This game, it is, I mean, You want to talk about ways back in and this and that, Necrox. This is just a go. This is a go next. You hit go next on this button. You're only scaling here as Palm Goat, really, unless Trinity hits like a 5-man ulti in a fight. Everyone's so fed on the enemy team. They have a Sivir as well. They might get Runeweaver here though.
Runeweaver going down could be a big shutdown, and Palm Goat's going to be able to pick that one up. The rest of the fight still going to break out as Scout trying to get himself away. There's no corrupting chains to keep him in place, so the bear is not scared, but a nice shutdown going the way of Palm Goat. That might be a start, but you're going to need to chip away so much more if you want a realistic light into this match. Trinity has a turret to his safety, but Potato has a kick, and goodbye once again, Trinity. That is the 4th time it feels like you've been caught out, and WyoBoomers go 1 for 1.
He's doing the balance. He's playing for Sidewave, sacrificing life for Sidewaves. I'm with it. I follow you, Trinity. It's all good.
Humanoid?
Humanoid, yeah. Any of those shout-outs as Trinity does fall to Potato Head. Of course, Potato Head, easily the strongest member on the map right now. Nobody can touch this Lee Sin at the moment. It is also his big power spike. That's another death for Papa Francesco. There's good follow-up here.
Oh my god! Palm Goat, man, you got one shot. Wicklehouse now is going to go down as well, or not. The Triumph is going to keep him alive. Maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. Trinity, man, you just died on the other side of the map, and he's probably going to go down once more. A couple more autos from Paxax. The shield is in. Trinity's dashing back forward, and they've got Paxax. One more member going to go down here. Birdman will die to the Leandri's burn. 10 and 2 on the Talia. Somehow, Trinity survives until they skirmish 1v1 with the Prom, and he'll come out. This game is just a fiesta and a half. Meanwhile, Potato just split pushing on the bot lane turret. Forget analysis, DJ. It's just fighting at every turn.
Yeah, and we know the God Squad love to fight at every turn. It's worked wonders for them so far as they have just won every skirmish, gotten so far ahead. Has gotten a little sloppy here in the last couple minutes. Necrox, Runeweaver walking into a trap, going down, then fighting sort of one by one in that top side after the initial pick onto Papa Francesco. They did so without Potato Head, who was completely alone on the bottom side of the map. I'm not sure if his TP was up or if it just came back up. Either way, it still goes kind of even. I think they just lose out on 1 kill after Trinity picks up Dibble there at the very end of the play, but they still pick up turrets from the split push from Potato Head. They still extend their gold lead even further here. Now 9k gold at 17 minutes and still very, very much in their control here. Baron nowhere near on the map at the moment. They're taking the 2nd Rift Herald, and again, the options here for WyoBoomers are not that much. You have to get a perfect engage from Trinity and Birdman on a flank. Palm Goat needs to get to 2 or 3 items to have a chance, but even then, it doesn't get that much easier because there is a Sivir on the enemy team. You always have to deal with that late game win condition with the extra move speed for some of these mid-game champions like the Lee Sin and this Talia. So I don't even think the clock necessarily working in WyoBoomers' favor, and they've got to find small little incremental wins across basically every part of the map to have a hope of challenging for a Drake, challenging for a Baron, and trying to stay in this game.
And there's 2 wins in particular that you need to find. One is the shutdown on Potato. That's 1,000 gold. Okay, goodbye, Wickle. No point in sending you off, as that one was just an ugly death. And the second one you need is Runeweaver. That's the shutdown as well that has just moved its way up from 300 to 500, so 800 total there on the Talia. If you could find those onto the right targets, maybe there's something here. You already have 5 stacks on the Dark Seal for Trinity, but it's just going to require patience, and it's going to require excellent execution. Now, can Trinity somehow manage to win this one? Pull back in onto Runeweaver's at 1 HP, but he gets the kill onto Trinity. Shutdown's going to be given over to Birdman. He's going to have to keep himself alive if the team can get here, but no one is coming to reinforce. How many slaps does it take to get to the center of a burger? The world may never know, as Palm Goat's going to die first. Paxax picks that one up. Now Scout still on the chase base. Wicca House may be able to save his support here if he can get there in time. The trample's on for Birdman. One more stun, one more slap. Here comes Wicca House. Can they take the 2v1 against Bellscout, who is completely out of mana? The flash forward, one more auto. Birdman throws him away though, and Melscout will drop. Not the shutdowns where you wanted them to be, but Wyo get a 2-for-1 as Palm Goat fell on the other side of the map, which means AOE take their advantage and will claim their Drake.
Give it to him, Birdman. You're the carry now, man. Take all the kills. Go EP Alistair. It doesn't matter at this point. Third Drake gonna go down here to AOE God Squad. They are now 5 minutes away from the Soul. The Cloud Soul, not typically the one that everyone does want, still will be very nice for their composition, particularly Melscout here. Even the Lee Sin will probably appreciate it, but they are setting up another trap for Runeweaver. Can he outplay again?
One more trap. Okay, that's a nice kill. The Seismic Shove couldn't get off in time, and WyoBoomers find Runeweaver cut out once again, but that's not the member that you need. Yes, it's nice to grab that kill, but 1,000 golden potato is gotta be your target. He is deathless in this game so far, DJ, and they need this Lee Sin's bounty, or it's just gonna be chipping away for chipping away's sake. You need that big influx of gold onto the right target in order to really have any hope of taking down God Squad in game 1.
Yeah, you do really want to get that shutdown onto an important member here. 2 items do get completed here for Palm Goat. That's a very nice power spike. 2 items also on Paxax. So the 80 carries coming online just a little bit here as we crest the 20-minute mark. That may just give WyoBoomers a fighting chance at the next objectives. Baron, of course, is up on the map. We've got 3 minutes, 45 seconds on that Soul Drake. And I imagine that will be the big target for a fight. But another trap. Wyo are trying to set up. They're trying to do these clever plays. I like the approach, but I think they're recognizing they don't really have control of this top river. They do end up backing out. Everyone gets back to base. As the Rift is popped for a distraction. They're right on the Baron here at 21 minutes, Necrox.
They're just straight on to the big purple worm, but Wyo smell this one out. They know there's something fishy in the water, and that's going to force AOE God Squad to pull away, at least for now. A good reaction there from Wyo will keep them alive in this game a little bit longer. That Baron would have been a death blow on the door for WyoBoomers. There's a nice cue from Dibble. They're trying to chase down Palm Goat. Wants to flash himself away. Corrupting Change to start the fight, but that shield is absorbing so much damage. The rest of Wyo trying to come in and ice cue across the team from Palm Goat, but he has to stay so far away. There's just not enough DPS. Birdman popping the Unbreakable Will, walking himself away, but there goes Palm Goat. He is just one shot, and this 80 carry means nothing to the likes of AOE God Squad. Papa's in the middle of everyone. He's gonna fall, and in comes the Weaver's Wall. Trinity will die as well, and they will knock you over one final time. Double kill to this Lee Sin. You thought you were going to get the bounty. There was a GA and a stopwatch to keep that bounty on his head. Melscout at 1 HP. There's not a wave here just quite yet. Oh, that's a little unfortunate. We'll leave that one to the analysts as AOE God Squad have basically wrapped this one up.
Yeah, unfortunate's one way to say it, but it's not really the important part here. The important part is the ace in the top lane and the absolute destruction that came out from Potato onto Palm Goat. We're going to see it here. This fight actually starts out very nicely for the side of WyoBoomers. You can see the flash away, the ulti coming out, Chain of Corruption stops them in this entire choke point, and Palm Goat looks totally fine. He's poked out Paxax. It looks great, but then look on the top side at what happens here to Palm Goat. There's Potato, and there goes Palm Goat. Disappears in the blink of an eye, and once he's gone, there's just nothing left for this team. They have to run for the hills, but the follow-up, the Weaver's Wall from Runeweaver is beautiful. Takes out the member running away. The wall cuts off Wickle House. It's a clean ace, and once again, a 20 kill score lead here for AOE God Squad. The Drake in a minute, the Baron on the table, a 10 and a 11.5k gold lead.
And the kick into the Seismic Shove was so clean from Potato and Runeweaver. It's like they had that duo planned out all along. It was a nice TP in, and yeah, all is done but the crying here for WyoBoomers is they really just need to get out of this game now. The longer this drags on, the worse it's going to get for them in Game 2 and Game 3. They shouldn't want to keep this game going, and AOE doesn't want to either. They're going to set up for Baron one last time. AoE God Squad still chunking this one down. Potato gonna find an insect onto Wigglehouse. If that jungler goes down, there's no reinforcements, and he is dead in the water. AoE now have a free Baron to their name, unless Wyo can find a miracle, but Papa is not TP, and he wants no part of the fight as AoE will secure themselves a Baron, and now look for the fight as well. Goodbye, Palm Goat once again. We've seen that play time and time over, as Birdman now will fall. The Unbreakable Will, a nice knockup, but it does not matter. Double kill once again to Rune Weaver, would use that ghost to great effect, and now flashes over the wall just to secure the victory march. AoE will take game 1 in devastating fashion.
Yep, they absolutely will. And 20 stacks on that Magi Soul Stealer there for a 16-4. Runeweaver says that Palm Goat doesn't actually have a functioning health bar at any point in this game. One last effort here from Papa, but it's not likely to amount to much. Trinity's ulti is out. He is stunned up. He is in the stasis, and he's going to go down. Oh, he's not.
Nexus turret drops. Palm Goat looking for a snipe. Doesn't really find it, though. Flash away from Paxax to keep himself alive. Hey, there's a nice stopwatch. They know this one's over. Potato had disconnected for some reason, but now the fight's going to break out all the same. 1-0 so far to WyoBoomers, but they're going to trade it right back into Pop. A nice kick over the wall. Is going to find Palm Goat, who looks to 1v1 this Braum, but how strong are you, my friend? The heal comes through. Give him a little bit more time, a little bit more space to breathe. Double kill to Rune Weaver. Palm Goat drops in the blink of an eye. Make it 3, make it 4. Come on, Rune Weaver. Give it to me in game 1. Take this, Penta, and write your name in the history books of excellency. Not a lot of HP left to work with, though, as Trinity has a lot of damage. Has no defensive summoner, though, in that flash, so we'll walk away. Quadra to Rune Weaver. It was 20, now it's 25. Wyo hold on, but really just buying time, maybe to drop some strategies for game 2. AoE, one more push, and this game should be done.
Yeah, the wave not quite big enough. The health bar is blinking a little bit as AoE God Squad walks into the base. But even as they're chased, even as some, I don't know if it was like you said, BM and disconnects, some mechanical misplays coming in from them. Even with all of that, Rune Weaver picks up 4 kills. This man has a fully stacked Medjais. He's absolutely devastated. You can see what he's doing to Palm Goat's HP bar. Literally one rock in the Dark Harvest just completely obliterates him. It's an absolute one-shot. Palm Goat's got to be sitting at his keyboard like, dear God, I just do not get to play the game. It's just no moment at all. This is likely the last effort here. So Soul Drake's up. In goes Papa.
One more fight. Nice face breaker to pull in a couple members, but Trinity is so low, he's going to drop now. 1 for 2. Wyo fight... or excuse me, started this fight pretty well. Papa's still very healthy, very tanky on this set. Looking to make the play once again. Birdman's going to fall over. Wicklehouse on the back line, but look who's kiting him around. It's Paxax to get one more for AoE. Very low. He'll be finally killed off. Palm Goat flashing away. Can he actually turn this fight? I believe that he can. It's only support left standing, and Wyo somehow have gotten themselves a 5 for 3 fight. Certainly this is not the start to turn things around. There are supers in the base as we speak. I think it's just a prize just to keep your heads held high, but Wyo, that is their team fighting prowess. We saw it in the nature documentaries, but they're going to need so much more.
Yeah, they're still going to need a lot more. Trailing by 21 kills, still trailing 10k gold, but you can see the items are coming online. There's some damage coming out, and Runeweaver critically was shut down there in that fight. 1,000 gold went over to Trinity, if I'm not mistaken, and that is what a perfect team fight can look like for WyoBoomers. The initial engage from Birdman, the follow-up from Trinity with Papa in there as well. They just blow up a couple of members, and there's not a whole lot you can do on the AOE God Squad side if you do end up falling for that sort of triple engage. Just like this for Runeweaver, he's going to get solo killed.
Solo kill for Trinity, and yes, Runeweaver Sved, yes, he has all the damage in the world, but the only defensive stat since he got it is armor. on that yet to be completed Zhonya's. Now the TP in from Papa, looking to make one more fight work here for WyoBoomers. Trinity is so low, but here comes Paxax. Keep your eyes on this Zipper, who's kiting away so beautifully for now, but he's got a quarter HP left. Wickelhouse stunned up in the middle of everyone. Potato keeping himself alive, has that death stance, but no Guardian Angel cooldown available just quite yet, as Dibble will fall. 3-for-0 fight for Wyo, and once again, out of the ashes of this disastrous burned out game, AOE God Squad will lose 3. One more ulti from Palm Goat will not find the mark. Potato under the turret looking to survive, will not die to one more Q from Palm Goat. As Wyo, what is this? They're somehow managing fights, and they're gonna drop bot tier 1 as Wyo clear the base.
Yeah, Necrox, are we seeing the beginning of something here? 3.5 items on Palmgo now as we look at the replay. Trinity had just killed the Solo Weaver, had just solo killed Rune Weaver. They tried to avenge him here, but it's Potato Head and a very squishy member on the, Mel Scout. Udyr isn't that tanky the later the game goes on. They manage to just blow him up right away, and then the fight is very split. There's only so much you can do as Paxax when you don't have a big front line. Multiple members already dead. The TPs come in to back up Trinity, and again, you can start to see what a good team fight looks like for WyoBoomers. If they can catch out a couple members, if they can get engaged onto the critical members and stop them from healing up, stop them from skirmishing, don't let them shield and run away. There are options for them here. Again, it's still a very big lead, 8k gold, but that starts to mean less and less as players like Palmgoat approach their full build. Trinity now on 3.5 items, nearing 4. There are options if they can get the perfect engage, but still, it only takes one mistake for AOE God Squad to clean them up and win the game.
And that's the problem, right? It's, yes, there's a gold lead. Yes, your base is open, but Wyo have found the formula. It's just they need to repeat that formula time and time again without miscalculating just one error. Baron started up about 2,000 already. Wickelhouse over the wall. Certainly can't steal this one. No. The secure will go to Mel Scout and the kill as well. Now's time for the game-ending pushes. AOE do not need to channel the recalls. They're headed straight down mid.
They are headed straight down mid, and Wickelhouse is already dead. That is one engage option to try to get onto Paxax. Potato Head still pushing in this bottom wave. He's evaded the attempted 2v1. You can see his health bar about 3/4 there because of it. And here we go. Melscout just going deep to try to end this.
The engage is on Melscout low. Papa dunks one back into the back line. Melscout's gonna be killed by a nice haymaker face breaker combination from this set. Papa keeping himself alive somehow, but he'll finally die. Paxax will get the final blow. The killing auto has landed. Nice kick away as well. And all on Trinity to keep this team alive, to keep Wyo breathing, but I don't think he can do it. There's nothing left in the tank. Has ulti if he needs, but Paxax is on the Nexus. Wickelhouse, meanwhile, is respawned. Flash away. This is a base defense made of dreams. WyoBoomers against Baron, against Supers, against the impending doom. Will not do it. Just kidding. AOE God Squad. Yes, they have cleared the base. Yes, Wyo hold on. Trinity, the last man standing. They'll clear out the minions, but Wyo somehow keep themselves breathing. But how long are they going to continue the suffering? They just need to get so much more. I hate to say that it's winnable, TJ. This one is just so incredibly awkward for Wyo.
Yeah, I can't believe this game is still going on, Necrox. It seems like AOE God Squad might just be a little too focused on fighting as we see this when you see Melscout. He's just trying to zone Palmgoat away so he cannot hit the back line. But it's really Papa who makes the difference. Look how much he absorbs there, how much health he gets back. In this front line, he buys so much time that one member already down. Deeble is super, super low. It's a great play there from Potato, but Trinity able to pick up multiple members, goes into the stopwatch. This becomes awkward from Paxax. He says, okay, I'm just going for the base, but they forgot about Wickelhouse. He's been dead for a while. They've been fighting for a while. He comes back and changes the nature of the fight. Trinity and he are enough to clean up the kills and just barely keep themselves alive. The Wickelhouse does pay for it because, again, Potato really, really strong.
And back into live now. It is Soul on the board for AOE God Squad. If they just secure this one, that is a buff, again, that does not dissipate. There's no timer like there is on a Baron or an Inhibitor. is they will secure themselves Soul. And Melscout, you thought he was fast before. This man is gonna zoom across the rift. Look at this. He's just full on sprinting down mid, looking to end this game. Finally, we'll approach this middle inhibitor as the rest of the team comes to reinforce. They just need this one avenue to approach. They already have bot open, top still standing, or at least the inhibitor is for now. Papa going to be dunked in by himself with a nice Showmaker onto the back line. Trinity trying to find access, but there's just not enough here. Gonna go golden for a little bit longer. Daibo able to block one more AO from Palm Goat. Trinity cannot find his mark, cannot find the engage. Wyo hold on, they clear minions, but they commit so much for it. And AOE still have resources to push for this end.
Yeah, I actually really like this decision making from AOE. This is a heavy dive composition from WyoBoomers. They used multiple ultimates to try to get in there. I believe Wickelhouse ulted, Trinity ulted, Papa ulted. So if you can try to get onto this inhibitor before those ultis come down, you are more than heavily favored. You are pretty much guaranteed to win the fight. But instead, it looks like they're just going to base and try to go at it once again. Another successful defense comes in from WyoBoomers. 2 inhibitors are down. They have protected their third. They'll need to do it once again to try to keep this slim hope alive in this game as they are approaching full builds here. Already 5 items in, I believe. Nope, sorry, just the 4 for Palm Goat. 4 in with a Medjais that's starting to stack up here for Trinity. They're starting to get strong, but Trinity's all alone.
Trinity's gonna be stunned up, but Melscout just walks away from this Diana. And it's like Balloon's tower defense. It's like water torture for WyoBoomers. Every time you feel like they could come back, but then you realize they have no map pressure. They have no way onto any turrets. There's still almost all of them standing for AOE God Squad. Only 1 has been dropped in the bot side. And Wyo have nothing left. Their inhibitors are all down. 3 lanes to succeed. Finally, AOE might be able to close this one out. But this definitely tells us something about how sloppy that AOE are. Yes, they can win early game skirmishes, but against a better team, DJ, I might doubt their ability to close the game out. This one, though, should just be over. But, I mean, come on. You can't take this long. There are multiple avenues that Wyo could have had to get back into this, but because the early deficit was so large, now they have this tension in the brush setting up a cheese.
Yeah, we do have the cheese here. Baron, of course, in 40 seconds. That is the trap. They are trying to hope they're going to come try to clear out vision alone. Birdman is wary. I think he knows. Maybe not.
Palm Goat's dead. He's just gone. What an insect from Potato. And this is why he was so fed early on. The man makes the plays here for AOE God Squad. And with a bot lane doomed to hell, AOE look to close this one out. Finally, Papa will go down without any success of that backline access, as the kills will come through. Melscout going golden just to make it a clean 5-0 ace, as AOE will close this one out in game 1. Wyo held on, but they'll finally kick the bucket here as AOE take their first.
Yeah, AOE in what should have been convincing fashion, then what ended up being a little bit sloppy fashion, but still a very large win in game number 1. Took multiple minutes longer than it should have, but they can still be very happy with the way they played out the early game, which was slap them down everywhere. In particular, in the top lane where Potato Head was just untouchable on this Lee Sin up against Papa Francesco. This is likely going to require a big shift up from the likes of WyoBoomers, because you barely even got to play that game. And the pathing again from Melscout just completely did in Wickelhouse in the early game. You cannot draft the Jin Zhao and have that little success in the first 6 minutes and expect to win a game of League of Legends. So we'll see what WyoBoomers are going to come up with, but that was a bit of a statement from AOE God Squad about how good they can be.
Yeah, and certainly having a bit of fun on the back end of that one as well, right? They could have taken it a little bit slower. They could have really just slowed down the pace and ended the game through their pushing sideways, but they just want to fight. They just want to skill check you at every turn. So obviously it takes a little bit longer than anticipated to end that one out, but warming up maybe for game 2, who knows? Maybe our analysts have better insight than we do, because that one was hard to watch from a WyoBoomers perspective, but from AOE God Squad, that looked pretty good.
Yeah, one thing I will say before we throw it to analyst desk here, I do have to say. So I remember saying in pre-show that if PaxX wasn't playing, I'd give it a 2-1 to WyoBoomers. I'd like to pull a Jet here after draft number 1 and game number 1, and say this is a 3-0 for AOE God Squad.
All right, yeah, I'm jumping ship. I'm out of here. If they can just win every fight like that early on, I don't know really how you can beat this team if they just want to run at you like they did. Our analysts, though. Man, Dia RMC, you guys got work to do ahead of you because there needs to be a plethora of changes for Wyo to win this one out on the evening, getting themselves a 2-1. Let's see what they have to say. Dia RMC, please enlighten me.
So much, Necrox and DJ. I do want to say my condolences for that because I have it right here. I wrote down at about 11 minutes 31 seconds into the game that it was over. And we went on for significantly longer. I'm not sure exactly how you do it. And I'm not sure how Wyo did it either, but I know that for at least those first 10 minutes, RMC, you were very impressed.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we basically got 2 games in this one game here. There was pre-22 minutes and there was post-22 minutes. Pre-22 minutes, AOE God Squad just ran the map here right from the get-go. In the draft, we knew they wanted to play their top side. They really played their top side. That was 3 junglers running everywhere. And WyoBoomers kind of got sucked into the trap of trying to keep up with the pace. And you could see that WyoBoomers, they were responding everywhere. And the most visible thing is the kills that happened, right? God Squad got incredibly ahead in kills. But one thing that I want to point out is that WyoBoomers fell behind in farm, trying to match the tempo. And the combination of those 2 things kind of made it feel at 11.5 minutes that the game should have been over. It was just a matter of closing it out.
And from that point, right, I think that we did see for a long time at least a continuance of good play from AOE. You talk about that accelerating the pace of the game, though, and I want to hear a little bit more about that because they definitely did. But what was it about the way that they were playing that actually accelerated the pace of the game? What did that mean for AOE?
Well, it meant for AOE that basically they took every objective pretty much on spawn when it came up. The Dragons, Heralds, Barons, the turrets, they weren't safe spots. We saw dives coming in at about 8 minutes here, top and bot side. And Potato got to just become a runaway train in the top side where not only could Papa not match, but even when Wicklehouse looked to try and gang top, it did not look good in a 2v1. The Lee Sin was just completely too strong to deal with. And the bright shining point I felt was Trinity for the side of WyoBoomers. Trinity played really well, and Trinity single-handedly held them in pretty much for the extra 20 minutes there.
And it was nice to see such a difference coming from the solo lane because the solo lane was something that was very clearly a focus in the early stages and throughout the entirety of the game for the God Squad. The fact that Wyo still do have that latent talent to be able to challenge in the later portions of the game when they are scaled up is really nice to see. And I want to know how you feel about them being able to pull out a comeback in Game 2. What are the mechanisms by which they can set themselves up for success if AOE want to run the same thing?
Yeah, while we were watching the game, I know you asked me, how did I feel about the Vision the early game? And I was kind of like, Vision wasn't great. And I think that's what they need to show up right away. Because AOE God Squad looked amazing early. If you had told me pre-20 minutes that, hey, AOE God Squad's a new team, they've not worked together, they're still like halfway rebuilding, I probably wouldn't have believed you if I didn't know it myself. But post-20, you could see communication issues abounded. They picked, I think, 3 back-to-back 4v5s. So for WyoBoomers here, rather than trying to force errors, you're waiting for those unforced errors. And if you're going to be a bit passive, you need to set up vision. If you have the vision, you can trust your players. Birdman and Palm Goat got amazing plays. 3-man dive, they still found 2 on the back end of it. Trust your laners to be able to do that and give them the vision to be able to prep for that so that if they know a gang's coming, they can choose to back off or they can call for help. And that will slow the pace down, I think, to a much more comfortable place for the WyoBoomers.
Yeah, and if they can take it slow, like we do think that is their comfort zone, perhaps they can actually take games here. It's worth noting that technically, in the technical aspect, WyoBoomers are currently ranked above AOE God Squad, although AOE has suffered some technical setbacks in the same right. They're technical AOE are 10th right now, and WyoBoomers currently sitting at around 8th. But we wanted to take a moment before we get into the draft to talk about the rest of the league as well. Update you on how the night is going as I check in, see if any other games have been completed. Currently, Lotus are up 1-0 against Glaive Esports. Onyx, who flashed that fight, is up against Rage Quit by 1 game, and then this game, which took about the same amount of time as everybody else's.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, these are some pretty early results coming in right now. And for this specific set, I know you mentioned, 8th place right now for WyoBoomers, 10th for AOE. Rather than it sounds like it's a bottom ranked team game, but realistically, when we look at actually how they're playing out, it's kind of not. And to me, it's a proving sort of game. WyoBoomers, they're known as the middle of the pack team. They're kind of like the gatekeepers of the playoffs, from what I've heard. And so 8th place is not where WyoBoomers should be. They're looking to try and climb right now. And for the side of AOE God Squad, they're rebuilding. Their wins need to not just be not just wins. They need to be convincing wins, pardon me. They have to be more cohesive. And right now, I'm still not seeing that from the AOE God Squad here. A win's nice, but it's not enough to get you into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I know that I was chatting with Melscout just a little bit earlier about the goals for AOE here, and they definitely do want to nail down a play style, but it's interesting to see the perspective with which they approach just today's series alone, because for the regular season, it isn't so much for them about winning each individual game. It's definitely about learning from game to game and series to series, and that's what I want to see here. It's not just a cleanup of the gameplay, but a cleanup of the gameplay based on what went wrong last time. To see if there are specific errors, specific ways in which they were engaging that suddenly get honed in with a squad that is hungry for improvement.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots to improve on just from last game. Yeah, that's what they need to look at in this series first and foremost, and for WyoBoomers as well. Draft for WyoBoomers honestly felt a little bit messy. I feel like if you're going to run a composition like this where everybody wants to dive in, a Kaisa would have been better than a Varus, for example, even blind here. And more than the draft, I think they just need to figure out how they want to play, what their identity is. I know DJ and Necrox were saying that they've always played around Trinity for the most part, and we're talking the pre-show about maybe trying to play instead through Palm Goat. I think this series, after the performance Trinity just put on, you play through Trinity, and maybe you don't send Birdman roaming as much. Trinity did perfectly fine without a ton of assistance, but every time Birdman was roaming, Paxax and Dibble absolutely just punished Palm Goat, and Palm Goat was kind of behind most of the game, and the impact just wasn't there.
I definitely say Trinity did well in a vacuum, but in the context of the game as a whole, I did think that Melscout was doing a really good job of keeping him down as well. And as much as the draft may have had us with a few questions about the scouting for these teams, we'll see that corrected as we get into this